from a portfolio standpoint, I have a ton of thoughts going in 90 million different directions. Plus, we got a bunch of questions coming in, so we'll try to get through some of that. I'm going to go out of order, but I'll start maybe at the end, which is your point about technology moving into these different areas like healthcare and infrastructure and transportation, where you haven't seen major innovation in the last 50 years.
These sectors all have, many of them have actual negative productivity growth.
Yeah.
Construction. And by the way, there's a guy, I think he was born in 1980, sort of borderline millennial, just took over Bechtel. You know, which is one of the biggest, I mean, they build nuclear reactors, they build harbors. And he basically said, it was a great speech initially, he says, you know, I'm ashamed to say this, but my industry is one in America where we actually have nil productivity growth over the decades. You know, how much it costs to actually build a project. So, I mean, that's just one example. Healthcare is notorious. Healthcare, we spend more and more per person with no result. I mean, you know, we actually, the last 8 years, last 8 years, we've actually had, you know, increasing age-adjusted mortality rate. Well, this is crazy, and by any international standard, we're the least efficient in the world at our use of healthcare resources. Well, again, though, I think everyone realizes no one can really enter this market, given all of our crazy quilt of insurance. A lot of people are overinsured, a lot of people are not insured, you know what I mean? No one can enter it until we get kind of some civic solution, and then we can enter it, right? Then tech could do amazing things for this, right?
The boomers and X-ers have tried.
Well, the boomers and X-ers are just gridlocked because they have this paradigm of somehow it's always a personal solution to everything.
Right.
They can't get together and actually solve, you know, this civic community organizational level problem because they spent their lifetimes attacking community and organizations. So they're incapable of actually doing that. They need the next generation to do this. But I guess my point is there is so much tech could do in these more civic, social, public arenas. And that's where our economy needs help. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that's awesome. And I think from a thinking through like asset allocation and portfolio management and things like that, what just, you know, at a high level, what that would make me want to do is I would want to go into those segments and look for the companies who are actually succeeding with either an efficiency curve or an innovation curve that is a renewal of their mission versus the last 50 years. And I'd want to go long into those, you know, kind of areas. Now, however, would I want to stay overweight, let's say, technology, the sector itself, which has been on this flywheel of innovation and creation, if I'm understanding that the next wave is actually more these end markets actually doing the innovation and driving that innovation forward, and it's less about the kind of the Silicon Valley flywheel of software companies being created, then maybe actually it's a sign that kind of we've reached a sort of a point where maybe this innovation creation period is I don't want to say maxed out, but needs a meta layer to what you were saying.
Needs a meta layer.
And also needs to go into these verticals.
Healthcare so much needs that. I mean, there is a lot of tech in healthcare, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of tech for all these various things we do, but it's the complete disorganization of it, the redundancy of it. No one ever gets rid of anything in healthcare. They just add another little device or another, you know, another diagnostic layer. Another cost center. What we need is a meta solution for healthcare, right? How do we integrate all that? How do we get rid of all the waste? How do we make it efficient? How do we, at the very least, at a basic level, establish something that would be very cost efficient, everyone could benefit from it, you know, reduce the paperwork down to nothing. I mean, you know, 25%, maybe as much as 2.5% of GDP, and 18+% of GDP that goes into healthcare is just administrative costs. Just insurers fighting with providers, fighting with patients, fighting, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you go into a typical, you know, doctor's office, 2 out of every 3 people are just pushing paper. They're not providing medicine, right? Well, that's an enormous cost. But tech would be designed for this. And, you know, we tried to start that with Obama and electronic records and all the rest. But I'm just saying, I'm trying to make a more general point, that these things require rules of the game before tech can really effectively move in.